One of the things reading the risk and vulnerability assessment that I got really kind of concerned about, there's a few, but one that really struck me is we are a small watershed. The water that we drink in the city of Charlottesville, at the University of Virginia, and in the urban area of Albemarle County all comes really from a fairly small portion of the county. As we begin to experience drought, as we have more population growth here, I really think we're going to have to think very hard about our water supply planning, what we do during drought periods. Also, I'm concerned about what happens when people are dependent on wells. So I think water resource planning is going to be an important area for the county.
Climate risks with respect to water in Albemarle County are twofold. One, too little water, which we have really been working very, very hard at taking care of, making sure that we do have enough water for at least the next 50 years for the urban area of both Charlottesville and Albemarle County. And the other one is too much water, which I personally think that we need to do quite a bit more with. We have that with respect to water and sewer services. That has to do with taking care of the stormwater infiltration into our sewer system. And we have put millions and millions of dollars into that in the last 15 years, but not knowing what the future really will hold and how much rainfall we're getting, especially in the last few years, has been pretty terrifying. And we've always had droughts in Albemarle County, we've always had heavy rains, but the expectation is that those are going to increase in intensity.
When I came to the community, Town Council was very clear that flood control is job number one in Scottsville. The town has a history of flooding, severe and repetitive losses going back over 200 years, and that damage has been serious at times and has traumatized our community, damaged buildings, caused people to leave town, and rebuilding has been difficult. So what we have now is top-notch infrastructure to protect our town from flooding, and that foundation underpins all of the other community organizing, economic development, parks and recreation work that I do. So the council's been very clear with me that flood control is where it all starts. We know from our history that that's important, and it will only become more important as the floods become more risky and more serious in town. We have two kinds of weather patterns that test our flood infrastructure. Hurricanes happening in the summer and the fall, and then also wintertime events when there's a heavy snow and a rapid snowmelt. Both of those have become more erratic and more serious in recent years. I mean, you've all seen on the news as hurricanes quickly increase in strength and change their track. That makes preparing really hard here because the difference of a few miles or a day's time is the difference between we don't have to do anything and we're all hands, red alert, start planning for evacuation. Especially in a small town organization with limited staffing, it makes it really hard for us to prepare. We've had the same thing happen in the wintertime, where a heavy snow falls and then the temperature pops up, the snow melts quickly, more rain falls on top. That can cause a flash flood here too. So we've seen serious flooding events both in February and October, and it keeps us on our toes all year round, where that didn't used to be the case so much. We've been talking about the risks of too much water, but not enough water can also happen. A lot of the town's seasonal economy is tied to tourism on the James River. Fishing trips, paddling, and tubing. We've got outfitter businesses, restaurants that rely on that. But in recent years, we've also seen summertime drought events, and when the James is only 1.5 feet, 2 feet deep, those outfitters don't run, and our whole town economy suffers. And those kinds of problems can drag on for a month. That's not just a one-day problem with an emergency response, and nothing we can do about that. So that's also something to be aware of and try to prepare for and mitigate where we can.
Join the climate conversation by reading the risk and vulnerability assessment and arming yourself for the future that is coming.